what did you find about Apple's discussions with Google?
Yeah, as you said, in January, they signed this Gemini deal to use Google's AI model to power upgraded Siri. A part of that is also a broader sort of cloud arrangement where Apple is now exploring various ways to use more of Google's cloud, and that most importantly includes its AI products. To date, since the launch of their sort of revamped AI strategy, they've said that they're going to be either using Apple devices to process this AI compute, or private cloud compute, which is sort of an internal AI service. But there's been discussions with Google to move that onto Google Cloud, which is be a just increased reliance on an external partner for a very important future product for Apple, and it's interesting.
When I see the notification on my phone that says, my iPhone is relaying with private cloud compute or something like that. I mean, I remember when Apple unveiled Apple Intelligence. This was the whole thing. Was that it's staying within the Apple umbrella essentially. And what your reporting shows is that there have been talks to perhaps uh, get Google into that mix, and so it wouldn't actually be the private compute, I guess, that we initially thought it might be.
Yes, but I think with Google, the talks are around how to privately deliver this in Google Cloud. So
Right,
that
right. It stays private,
isolating.
just not within Apple. Totally.
Yes, 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 yes. Exactly.
Okay. Are there any privacy risks here to bringing in a second player?
I think there's always going to be some risk with the public cloud. I mean, how you configure authentication keys, where you store that. I think there's always going to be risks. Knowing Apple, they're going to have a pretty special sweet deal with Google to make sure that they are kind of um more secure than probably others. So I think, Google's a good partner with Apple, and Apple's extremely cautious. So I think they'll probably figure out some system that can keep privacy and security pretty well intact, even in the public cloud.
So, one of the things that I thought your story did a good job of explaining why this discussion is happening at all,
Yeah.
and I want you to explain that to us. And the line that stuck out to me that I'm hoping you can explain is uh, only 10% of Apple's private cloud compute capacity is in use on average, according to former employees. I don't even understand how that's possible for a company like Apple. How much does that play into this?
Well, I think that reflects just how unpopular Apple's new AI products have been. The whole Apple Intelligence system that they announced in 2024, it's been pretty lackluster. The features and the use is just not great, and I think that reflects kind of the poor use of the product and how poorly received it's been by the public and critics. So I think that's primarily the result of that.
That's is that the reason why they're looking to Google is because they're just not using the capacity, or what's the core reason here?
Well, there's a few reasons. I mean, so private cloud compute is using the chips they use are M series. So this is their Mac chips inside their own sort of private cloud system. And these chips, they're very good for Mac computers. They're not great for sort of big server AIs like Google's Gemini. It's the latency is going to be bad, and so this whole relationship with Google and getting Siri onto the next generation of modern LLMs, it's going to struggle to perform in this cloud system they built. So it's just not super capable right now. And then on top of that, serving it doesn't seem to be that great of an investment with really low usage. So it's certainly leading them down this path towards relying on an external partner like Google.
How about Apple's culture of capital allocation and, how tight-fisted they are in terms of, making investments and being very, careful about that? I mean, does this relate to that at all?
For sure. I mean, so this company has always Apple has always really struggled with, big upfront costs. They always want to run lean. And sort of like what we've seen over the past few years with this crazy CapEx spend, with all of the big tech players for building out their data center infrastructure for AI. Apple has not leaned into that even, remotely. I mean, slightly uptick in CapEx, but this is not their priority. It's not a strategic priority. They don't see it that way. So over the past few years, they've really leaned more into public cloud. And for the finance department at Apple, that's really they view it as a way of controlling costs, keeping it down, and just avoiding that massive upfront spend you'd get with data centers.
So how do you think this inevitably plays out here? Do you think they will end up relying on Google, or, even if not Google, I mean, do you think there will be more reliance on outside partners to help build out these capabilities?
Um, Apple has always been a company that has tried to control the ingredients, the essential ingredients of its products. And as it's shown with AI, it really is struggling to do that in-house. So they're having to move to Gemini, external partners, and I think that also holds true in the cloud. Both AI and the cloud are sort of linked forever. And so I think, yeah, they are just going to continue to have to rely on outsiders. And for a company that's obsessed with sort of like controlling their own destiny, I think this is probably arguably, talking to people who've been involved in these efforts, a big blind spot for them.
Very quickly before you go, I know that Apple has a couple special events lined up this week. I know that there's the event on Wednesday that we're all watching for, but they seem to have announced some products today. So just walk us through what you're looking at this week.
Yeah, it's really primarily a device story for this week of products. So today was iPhone 17e. This is their mid-tier, lower price phone that hasn't they've that historically hasn't done that well, but maybe helpful with emerging markets. A new iPad. Potentially most interesting, later this week, they'll be announcing a new MacBook, a lower price MacBook. Obviously, they're traditionally very expensive devices, but this will be lower priced, so maybe better for the education market, and it'll run on a iPhone chip rather than a Mac chip to help bring down the cost and make it more efficient. So, to me, that's probably the most interesting product of this week. But just a device product launch week mostly.
And is there ever a touchscreen MacBook coming at any point? Is that at all in the roadmap? I mean, I'm
You want
sort of
that?
in like, well, yeah, I've been waiting for it.
Um, I think I believe that will be arriving. That will be coming too. If you're interested in that, you'll have an option.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would totally cannibalize the iPad, so I guess maybe they're not rushing to it. So,
Maybe not.
well, Aaron, I want to thank you for coming on. That is Aaron Tilley, our Apple reporter here at The Information.